Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, oh Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Radha Govind Dev ki jai. Kali Yuga Dharma Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Shri Bhadra Purnima ki jai. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Welcome. Good to see everybody. I had Keshava playing Mridanga in the background because why not? And he was nice enough to play for all of you and me. So thank you to my dearest Keshava. I wasn't exactly feeling all that great, but it's Bhadra Purnima, and we've been doing all of this Bhagavad Katha. We've been doing all of these stories and kathas and live readings, and I thought, with today being Bhadra Purnima, how could I not? I have to. So we are here, and we're going to read together for a little while, and we're just going to bathe. Normally it is said on Bhadra Purnima, many people go and bathe in a holy river. What could be better than bathing in the holy river of the nectar of the pastimes of our best hero, friend, love, Lord of the universe, awesome, most person. So I figured here we are. We'll read together. And as always, first we'll start with Jai Radha Madhava, so that we can bring our minds to the divine abode of Sri Vrindavan Dham. No matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, we can automatically, all of a sudden, like magic, be in Vrindavan with Shri Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jannavalabha Girivaradhari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jannavalabha Girivaradhari Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravana Chari Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravana Chari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jannavalabha Girivaradhari Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Bhajamana Radhe 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 Govinda 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 Shri Radha Madhava ki jai. Shri Radha Govinda Devi ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thanks, Keshava. So because this is Bhadra Purnima, and it is so auspicious to read the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, the benefits are said to be incalculable, unable to be calculated. We can't even imagine the amount of benefit that we get just by listening and participating in Bhagavad Katha. And thanks to Srila Prabhupada, he gave in charity to all of us the greatest gift of Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'm so grateful to be here with all of you, no matter how we're feeling, no matter what's happened in our day, no matter what's going on. And really, I got like, you know, when you sleep the wrong way and then your neck is all stiff and you've got a bad neck pain. That's what happened to me. So for a while, I kind of felt like a robot, not being able to turn. properly, kind of just. But I'm so grateful to be here with all of you, regardless of whatever it is. If we just, I was talking to my sister and I was saying that's all that Govinda wants. If we just endeavor, just a little bit, with some affection, thinking, Krishna, I know that talking to you will make me feel better. Like I said, when we have to call our friend, let's just talk about him. I know that talking about you will make me feel better. So, I was wondering earlier what to do, how to figure it out, what to read. And I was scrolling through the internet. And Krishna finds such a charming way to show up in my day. So someone had made a post about Krishna's chastisement of Rukmi, the brother of Rukmini. And I was looking at the picture. And it's a picture from the early days of the movement. So it's such like an old school picture. And it's got such vibes from the 70s. These great artists drawing under the direction of Srila Prabhupada himself. And I was looking at this picture and then I started to laugh because Krishna has steadied his hand, right? He has his sword in this hand and he's steadying his arm with the other in order to cut off the hair of Rukmi. And he wasn't cutting it off in such a charming way. He was making him look foolish. And I was thinking, why? Why did Krishna steady his hand as though, oh wait, if my hand was shaking, then the haircut would come out wrong. There is no wrong way to defame someone with this haircut. So I found myself laughing and laughing for a good 10 minutes. And I thought, that's it. That's what we'll read about. We will read about Krishna's kidnapping of Rukmini. We'll read about the letter that she wrote to him. And we will read about how he rescued her. And hopefully we'll all just find great joy in bathing ourselves in the nectar of the pastimes of our best friend. That is the one thing that will give us the most joy. And I can't think of a better way than to spend this full moon. They say full moons are very, very romantic. Indeed, Krishna would spend his time even with the gopis on a full moon. Everything is illuminated, and the moon looks very charming in the sky, especially in the fall season, which in the US we are coming upon this fall season. So these fall full moons are supposed to be very, very romantic. So I couldn't think of a more romantic way than to spend this time talking about when God goes and kidnaps princesses and answers the call of his greatest devotees, and also performs some mischief along the way. So, we've got our trusty background music. Also, coincidentally, from Keshava on piano. And we'll be reading from this condensed version of Srimad Bhagavatam that we've been taking great joy in hearing from for so many days. Rukmini's message to Lord Krishna. There was a king named Bhishmak, the ruler of Vidarbha, who had 5 sons and one very lovely daughter. Rukmi was the eldest son, and he was followed by Rukmabahu, Rukmakesha, and Rukmamali. Their sister was the exalted Rukmini. Wow, interestingly, they only named 4 of the sons. Rukmi, Rukmabahu, Rukmakesha, and Rukmamali. But he had 5 sons. I'm not sure where. Where's the 5th son? Maybe we'll find out. Their sister was the exalted Rukmini. She was meant to be married to Krishna, and indeed, she was a direct expansion of the goddess of fortune. Great sages such as Narada used to come to King Bhishmak's palace and describe Lord Krishna's beauty, prowess, character, and opulence while singing his praises. After hearing these narrations, Rukmini decided that Krishna would be the perfect husband for her. Similarly, Lord Krishna knew that Rukmini possessed intelligence, auspicious bodily features, beauty, proper behavior, and all other good qualities. Concluding that she would be an ideal wife for him, he made up his mind to marry her. Can we just imagine that maybe we performed something good enough? We have some qualities that when Krishna will hear about us, he fixes his mind on us as well. And I know I wrote about this before when we read about Sleepless, and Govinda's being kept awake at night thinking about the love of Rukmini. Just imagine that we perform our devotional service with such love that our own gurus then feel the need, they feel so enthusiastic that they want to tell Srimati Radharani. And then Srimati Radharani will hear about something that we might have done, just some goodness that we've done. And she tells her very own Krishna, oh? And Srila Prabhupada says, he says that we pray and we chant so that Srimati Radharani will accept us. And she will hear about it. And she will tell her Krishna, oh Krishna, this devotee is millions of times even better than me. Please accept them. Just imagine. And it doesn't even have to be complicated. Just our chanting of the holy name can be filled with so much love and affection that it will catch the attention. It will catch the ear of our spiritual master. And he will lovingly speak on our behalf. He will speak for us to Srimati Radharani, to the expansions of the goddess of fortune. She then will speak to her own beloved dearest heart about us. And then imagine, Krishna will hear about our good qualities. Considering that we might be an ideal match for him, he will consider, fine, I must pick up the association of my dear friend. Imagine that he might feel eager to run back to us again. All of Bhishmak's family agreed that Rukmini could marry Krishna, with the exception of Rukmi, who was envious of the Lord. So, sometimes we hear of Rukmini and then we hear of Srimati Radharani. They are very different. Ultimately, Rukmini is the expansion of the goddess Lakshmi. And we understand that any goddess of fortune, anywhere, is ultimately an expansion of Srimati Radharani within the divine realm of Goloka Vrindavan. But within Krishna's earthly pastimes, they are very different personalities. So Rukmini and Sri Radha are not the same. But Srila Rupa Goswami has given, within his Lalita Madhava and within his Vidagdha Madhava, he has outlined the very esoteric and secret identities of Krishna's queens and their connections to the gopis of Sri Vrindavan Dham. I tell you this so that you too can go and look it up. I don't know if I can give all of the secrets on such a wide platform, but if you find yourself able to get a copy of Lalita Madhava and Vidagdha Madhava by Srila Rupa Goswami, then you can read about these pastimes and you can find out these secrets. Or Shivaram Maharaj has written a very beautiful book named Krishna Sangati. And if you can also find that book, which is available on Amazon, also an ebook, you can read that book very carefully, with a mood of service, with a mood of gratitude and humility, a great mood of understanding that Krishna is so inconceivable, but somehow He has given us a chance to know just a little about him. Shivaram Maharaj has also adapted these wonderful stories of Lalita Madhava and Vidagdha Madhava by Srila Rupa Goswami. So Shivaram Maharaj has given in his Krishna Sangati that same information. So I've given you the means to find out the secrets. I don't know if I can give you the secrets because Krishna has to ultimately decide who he wants to reveal himself to. But you can find that Krishna Sangati on Amazon by His Holiness Shivaram Maharaj. Now it is up to you to go and search it out. So all of Bhishmak's family agreed that Rukmini could marry Krishna, with the exception of Rukmi, who was envious of the Lord. He forbade the marriage and instead arranged for his sister to marry Shishupal, a determined enemy of Krishna's. Also amazing that Shishupal was Krishna's own cousin, but he was also a determined enemy. Dark-eyed Rukmini became morose when she learned of this, but knowing the ways of diplomacy, she deeply thought over the matter and decided on a course of action. After summoning a trusted Brahmana, she gave him a message for Krishna and then sent him to Dwarka. When the Brahmana arrived at Dwarka, the doorkeepers brought him into the presence of Lord Krishna. Upon seeing the Brahmana, Lord Krishna immediately got down from his golden throne. After seeing the Brahmana seating the Brahmana upon his own throne, Lord Krishna worshipped him, just as he himself is worshipped by the demigods. Imagine such a reception. Krishna is so kind to his devotees. Imagine such a reception, bringing this love letter to Krishna. And then Krishna rushing, when he sees that you've arrived, rushing just to see you, seating you upon his own throne. Come, have my own seat. The Brahmana bathed and ate his meal and then rested on a soft bed. At this time, Sri Krishna came there and very respectfully placed the Brahman's legs on his own lap and massaged them with his own hands. How fortunate is this one Brahmana? We cannot conceive of such good fortune, but we hope and we pray that one day, by the strength of our chanting, by the strength of our service, Sri Krishna will welcome us with such love and affection in his heart. And indeed, it is not just for them to have this good fortune. This good fortune is available for all of us. We just have to make ourselves ready. I tell you this for sure, for certain. Srila Prabhupada said we can make ourselves perfect if we just take up this path, if we just chant with affection, with love, with faith and conviction that Krishna is our dearmost friend, always and forever. Then this blessing can be available to us. Have faith, take heart, never give up, just keep going. The Brahmana knew that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but still, he accepted this worship just to conform to Vedic social conventions. Krishna then asked, "O best of exalted Brahmanas, are your religious practices proceeding without great difficulty? Is your mind always fully satisfied?" When a Brahmana is satisfied with whatever comes his way and does not fall away from his religious duties, those very religious principles become his cow of plenty, fulfilling all his wishes. I repeatedly bow my head in respect to those Brahmanas who are satisfied with their lot. Saintly, prideless, and peaceful, they are the best well-wishers of all living beings. What does that mean for us? If we somehow keep to our devotional service, if we stick with it, understanding, okay, these things come our way. Sometimes calamities come our way. Sometimes great opulence can come our way. But if we stick with our devotional service no matter what, This is what this means for us. Srila Prabhupada says we can transcend any of the varnas, any of the ashrams. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, he then, in this regard, says, I am not a brahmachari, vanaprastha, sannyasi, grihastha. I am not a brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, nor am I a sudra. My one identity is of the servant, of those gorgeous damsels of Vrindavan, the gopis. Srila Prabhupada says that the devotees of Sri Krishna can transcend all of these designations. And so in this way, he gave Brahminical culture, he gave Brahmin initiation to everyone who became qualified. If they took to this Krishna consciousness, he would give this Brahminical initiation. Women, Westerners, white, black, yellow, orange, green, did not matter. He would give it with the understanding that because we have taken to this process of bhakti yoga, with faith in Krishna, we have no qualifications, but that becomes our qualification. Our disqualification becomes our qualification. And when we take to this process of bhakti, never giving up, endeavoring day after day, even when the distractions of opulence come our way, even when the distractions of great calamities come our way, if we stick with it, then Sri Krishna himself says, I repeatedly bow my head in respect to those brahmanas who are satisfied with their lot. Saintly, prideless, and peaceful, they are the best well-wishers of all living beings. This is my Govinda, who gives pleasure to the brahmanas, gives pleasure to the cows, and gives pleasure to the hearts of every single one of his devotees. If we just stick with it, if we endeavor just a little bit every day with love. O Brahmana is your king attending to your welfare. Indeed, the king in whose country the citizens are happy and protected is very dear to me. For what purpose have you come here, crossing over the sea? If it is not a secret, please explain this and tell us what we may do for you. The word dharma is often translated as religious practice, although this does not convey the full meaning. Krishna did not appear in a secular society. The people in Vedic times could hardly imagine a society that did not understand the need to obey God's laws. In those days, religion was not a specific aspect or department of life, but rather the guiding light for all activities. Irreligious life was considered demoniac, and God's hand was seen in everything. This is the meaning of religion. This is the meaning of dharma. In this regard, Krishna consciousness is not simply something to be done on Sundays, something to be done in the morning. It is a lifestyle. Can we take up the lifestyle of loving Govinda? Can we take up this lifestyle of being conscious of Govinda's hand in every single aspect of our lives? That is Krishna consciousness. This is our true religion, our true dharma. When Krishna says, abandon all varieties of religion, just surrender unto me. Whatever name you call it doesn't matter. By whatever name you call out to Krishna is all right. Just call him. Know that he is your friend, always on your side, and call him. He says, doesn't matter. Abandon all of the details. We spend so much time arguing over the details. Is it this way or that way? Is it this name or that name? This time or that time? Abandon all of that. Don't argue about the details. Just pick up the principle that Krishna is the love of our lives, our best friend, and the guiding light of all of our activities. And see his hand in any and everything. He is working in our favor. In response, The Brahmana told Krishna about Rukmini. Then he related her letter as follows. O beauty of the world, O Krishna, having heard of your qualities and your attractive appearance, which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you. O Mukunda, you are equal only to yourself in lineage, character, beauty, knowledge, youthfulness, wealth, and influence. We see so many social media influencers. I say Krishna is the supreme influencer. No one has more influencer prowess than Krishna. He's got more followers than anybody I know. What aristocratic, sober-minded, marriageable girl would not choose you as her husband? O Almighty One, I have chosen you as my husband, and I surrender myself unto you. Please come swiftly and make me your wife. My dear lotus-eyed Lord, let Shishupal never touch the hero's portion like a jackal stealing that which is meant for a lion. O unconquerable one, tomorrow, when my marriage ceremony is about to begin, you should come to Vidarbha, unseen, along with your army. After crushing the forces of Shishupal and Jarasandha, marry me in the Rakshasa style by kidnapping. You may wonder, how can I carry away Rukmini from the inner chambers of the palace without killing her relatives? But on the day before the marriage, I will be taken in a grand procession to the temple of Durga outside the city. O lotus-eyed one, if I cannot obtain your mercy, I shall give up my life while performing severe austerities. After hundreds of lives passed in this way, it is my hope that I may be able to receive your favor. The Brahmana then said, this is the confidential message from Rukmini. Now please consider what to be done, what must be done, and do it at once. We can call upon Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We can call upon our Supreme Spiritual Master and say, will you speak to the Lord on my behalf? Carry my message of love to him. Every round, every Mahamantra can be chanted with this mood. O Guru Maharaj, O Vaishnavas, O those who are dear to the Lord of my heart, please carry this love letter of mine. Carry this message of love to my supreme best friend. Now, the chapter says, Krishna kidnaps Rukmini. After hearing Rukmini's message, Krishna held the Brahmana's hand and being very pleased, smilingly said, just as Rukmini's mind is fixed on me, so my mind is fixed on her. I cannot even properly sleep at night. How romantic is our hero. How romantic is Krishna. To tell this Brahmana, he knows that he will go back to Rukmini and convey this message to her, holding the hand of this Brahmin like a dear friend. He takes this Brahmin into his own confidence and speaks his mind. Imagine the Lord of the universe speaking his mind to you. I don't know anything greater than this. Just as Rukmini's mind is fixed on me, so my mind is fixed on her. I cannot even sleep properly at night. Imagine Govinda laying awake, staring at the full moon, just as we stare at this full moon on Bhadra Purnima, thinking of those devotees who tug on his own heartstrings with their loving sentiments. Just think, Krishna lying awake at night, tossing and turning, trying to sleep fitfully but unable to, because his heart is so pulled by thoughts of his own sweet devotees who know nothing but him. I know that Rukmini has arranged her marriage to Shishupal due to envy of me, and so I shall bring her here after thrashing those worthless kings in battle. Krishna ordered Daruka to prepare his chariot, And so the driver yoked the horses named Shaibya, Sugriva, Megapushpan, Balahaka, that were various colors, and then stood before the Lord with folded hands. Lord Krishna then mounted his chariot, taking the Brahmana with him. In a single night, they covered at least 1,500 kilometers and reached Kundin, the capital of Vidarbha. He was traveling faster than the wind. King Bhishmak, although not inclined to do so, had succumbed to his son's whims and arranged for the marriage of his daughter to Shishupal. All the city streets were thoroughly cleansed, and the public places were nicely decorated. The citizens had dressed and decorated themselves to the best of their ability. The Brahmanas, after being worshipped and sumptuously fed by King Bhishmak, were engaged in chanting the Vedic mantras for the well-being of the bride. After cleaning her teeth and bathing, Rukmini was dressed in new clothing and the most excellent jeweled ornaments. King Damagosh, the ruler of Chedi, and the father of the groom, also engaged Brahmanas in chanting Vedic mantras and performing rituals necessary to ensure his son's prosperity. He had come to Kundin with a large army, for he suspected that Krishna might also arrive. He suspected that Krishna might create a disturbance. Bhishmak came out of the city to greet Damagosh, and after offering him respect, he showed him to the residence, specially constructed just for him. You know, we hear about these Vedic marriage ceremonies, and we think, you know, they've given so much in charity, right? They've given so much. They give elephants and cows and maidservants and so many damsels, also young ladies that accompany the bride as her friends. But they would also construct palaces for their guests. So Vedic culture is so amazing. This culture of hospitality, how to receive a guest, an honored guest. So amazing. Building palaces, getting everything ready for the marriage of his daughter. I simply wish that he had given her to Krishna. But then we have this wonderful heroic adventure to go on. And indeed, within the pages of Garga Samhita, Sri Krishna speaks with Maharaj Bhishmak, and he actually expresses his displeasure. He says, "We both know that Rukmini was meant to be my wife, but now you have promised her to this Shishupal." And then Krishna says, "No matter. See how I will handle everything." And then in great annoyance, he leaves, ready to kidnap Rukmini. So Krishna was even quite annoyed. King Damagosh. There we go, we got that part. Okay, Shishupal's supporters, Shalva, Jarasandha, Dantavakra, and Vijayarata, arrived for the procession, along with Pondrak and thousands of other kings, accompanied by their armies. Being envious of Krishna and knowing that Rukmini was actually meant for him, they had made the following statement: "If Krishna comes here to steal the bride, along with Balaram and the other Yadus, we shall band together and fight him." Indeed, it appeared as if these kings had come more with the intention of fighting than attending a marriage. When Lord Balaram heard how Krishna had set off alone to steal the bride, he assembled a mighty army and hurried to Kundin. Meanwhile, within the palace, Rukmini anxiously awaited Krishna's arrival. However, when she failed to see the Brahmana return, she thought, "My wedding is to take place at the end of this night. Why hasn't Krishna come here? Where is the Brahmana messenger? Perhaps Krishna has found something in me that is not to his liking, and so he has rejected my proposal. If that is the case, I can understand that the Brahmana would not return here out of disappointment. Perhaps I neglected to worship Lord Shiva and his wife properly, and so they have frustrated my attempt." Feeling helpless, Rukmini began to cry, but was somewhat consoled by knowing that there was still time. Rukmini then felt the twitching in her left thigh arm and eye, which is a sign that something desirable would soon happen. I just see this is like sometimes almost the equivalent of young girls that would sit with a flower and take off each petal talking about, he loves me not, he loves me not, he loves me. And so she feels this auspicious omen. And I feel in my heart like she's like, oh, he loves me, he does, he's gonna come, it's okay. Just then, following Krishna's order, the Brahmana messenger came to see Rukmini within the inner chambers of the palace. Seeing the Brahmana's happy expression and serene movements, Rukmini, who could expertly interpret such symptoms, smiled and asked about his mission. So she already knew. She had her auspicious signs with the twitching of her left eye, and then she saw the Brahmana looking so serene. He must be ready to give a good message. Otherwise, he'd look morose. The Brahmana then told Rukmini of Krishna's arrival and assured her that the Lord had promised to carry her away without fail. Ah, it's so sweet. Princess Vidarbhi was overjoyed and would have liked to give all her possessions in charity to the messenger. Finding nothing suitable, however, she simply bowed down to offer her obeisances. When King Bhishma heard of Krishna and Balaram's arrival, he went to greet them, taking with him many valuable presentations. After worshipping the two lords, Bhishma gave them suitable accommodations and also provided for their entourage and army. When the residents of Kundin heard of Krishna's arrival, they went to see him, and with the cupped palms of their eyes, they drank the honey of his lotus face. There is no poetry like Srimad Bhagavatam. With the cupped palms of their eyes, they drank the honey of his lotus face. Any one of us can do this. Any one of us, with the cupped palms of our eyes, we can go before the picture of the Lord, the deity form of the Lord. We can even hear him and see him with our ears, because Krishna does not work like any ordinary human. It's not that we need to even just see him. We can see him with our ears by hearing these gorgeous heroic activities. Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagavan Ki Jai. Talking amongst themselves, the people said, Krishna is the only suitable husband for Rukmini, the princess, and no one else deserves to become his wife. May the Supreme Lord be satisfied with whatever piety we have performed and show his mercy by accepting the hand of Vidarbhi. So even the villagers, the citizens of this great city of Kundin, were praying on behalf of Rukmini. If the Lord has become pleased with us, let him accept her and no one else. Please just make our city the most glorious. If our princess marries Krishna, do you know what that means for us? We are blessed as a city. We get to say that our very own princess is the bride of Sri Krishna, the greatest hero of all the creation. At this time, Rukmini came out of the palace and, being protected by her guards, proceeded on foot toward the temple of goddess Ambika, our queen of happily ever afters, our supreme mistress of wonderful loving pastimes, the one who tries to make sure all of Krishna's pastimes go smoothly. This gorgeous goddess Ambika, our sweet, sweet goddess Durga. She is eager to help all of these pastimes along in her own heartfelt way. Her mother, her friends, and many elderly Brahmin ladies accompanied Rukmini, and there was musical accompaniment as well. While going, Rukmini absorbed her mind in the lotus feet of Krishna. When she came to the temple, Rukmini first washed her feet and sipped water for purification. After she entered the temple, the elderly Brahman's wives directed Rukmini in her worship, and she prayed, O Mother Ambika, wife of Lord Shiva, I repeatedly offer my obeisances unto you. May Lord Krishna become my husband. Please grant me this. Rukmini worshipped goddess Durga with offerings of water scents, whole grains, incense, clothing, garlands, necklaces, and other jewelry, along with an array of lamps. The unmarried Brahmin girls simultaneously performed worship with the same articles, as well as with offerings of food and drink. At the conclusion, Rukmini offered her obeisances to the deity and to the Brahmin ladies. Then, giving up her vow of silence, Rukmini caught the hand of one of her girlfriends and left the temple. All the princes were assembled outside the temple, hoping to have Rukmini as their wife. What's kind of crazy is they're all kind of just waiting out there just to anxiously look at her. Rukmini was only 13 or 14 years old, and she appeared as enchanting as the Lord's illusory energy, which enchants even the sober and the grave. The form of Rukmini is actually a manifestation of the Lord's internal potency, and thus non-devotees cannot even see her. The princes, with lust in their hearts, were seeing a Maya Rukmini, for as soon as one is thus contaminated, the illusory potency separates him from the pristine beauty of the spiritual world. As the kings and princes gazed upon Rukmini's lovely, sweetly smiling face, with red lips and jasmine bud teeth, her slender waist and other features, they became struck with wonder, thinking her to be a special creation, just meant to bewilder them. Indeed, some of the princes became so stupefied that their weapons dropped from their hands, while others fell down unconscious from their chariots, horses, and elephants. So we see there are so many times when people will go to see celebrities and they get so worked up that they wind up fainting as soon as the celebrity makes their appearance. And we think, how is this possible? Even in a mundane sphere, we can see how someone can become so enamored with someone, right? So enamored with seeing someone that they faint. So here all of these kings have fainted just by seeing Rukmini. She was, in essence, drop dead gorgeous. Although all the princes were staring at her, Rukmini was not proud, and she proceeded slowly, while pushing away some locks of her hair, in the hopes of seeing her Lord. Just at that moment, Rukmini saw Krishna amongst the assembled kings. Then, as his enemies looked on, the Lord came and caught hold of the princess and placed her upon his chariot, whose flag was marked with the emblem of Garuda. With Balaram in the lead, Krishna slowly exited, just like a lion, taking his prey from the midst of jackals. My Guru Maharaj says that Krishna proceeded slowly to show that he could not care less about these kings. They posed no threat to him. He was in no hurry. He knew they could not defeat him, and so he proceeds slowly, heroically, as though it's an everyday occurrence for him, kidnapping the most wonderful princesses in all of the world. Being thus humiliated, Jarasandha bellowed, "All condemnation upon us! Although we are mighty warriors, mere cowherds have stolen our honor, just as jackals might steal the prey of lions." This is a good example of the perverted intelligence of atheists. The marriage of Krishna and Rukmini. Krishna defeats all the princes and takes Rukmini home to Dwarka. Being struck with Rukmini's beauty, all the princes had fallen to the ground bereft of reason. Now, having become enraged, they picked themselves up, put on their armor, and with bows in hand, surrounded by their armies, they pursued Lord Krishna in great haste. Upon seeing this, the Yadu commanders turned to face the pursuing princes and kings, and thus they soon became covered with showers of arrows. While observing the fierce fight, Rukmini shyly gazed upon Krishna's face with fear in her eyes, and she expressed her gratitude for his having taken such a risk for her sake. Krishna just laughed and replied, "Do not be afraid, beautiful-eyed one. The enemy will soon be destroyed by our soldiers." My Guru Maharaj says that in some ways, Krishna's line, our soldiers, is very significant. In some ways, he means to say, your soldiers. Telling Princess Rukmini that the army of the Yadus, the great heroic warriors of the Yadu army, are now her own. He has accepted her as the queen of his life, and so his army has become her army. So there are many, many ways to see one word. So in some readings, Krishna says, do not worry, princess. Your army will defeat all of these kings. How romantic is my Lord? The Yadu heroes headed by Katha, Krishna's younger brother by another wife of Vasudeva, and Sankarshan could not tolerate this aggression, and so they began to strike down the opposing warriors with their arrows. Indeed, because of Balaram's valiant fighting, the battlefield was soon strewn with millions of severed heads, hands clutching swords, clubs and bows, smashed chariots, and dead animals. I know my brother Hovala is reveling in the glory of Lord Balaram's fighting. Upon witnessing the terrible carnage, the survivors, headed by Jarasandha, fled from the battlefield, thinking it unwise to risk defeat, simply for Shishupal's sake. Ha ha! Shishupal's people didn't even stay. No use dying for that guy. Never mind. All these kings approached Shishupal, who appeared like a demented person, for his face was drained of all color as if dried up, and his enthusiasm was gone. Jarasandha tried to encourage the depressed Shishupal by saying, listen, O tiger among men, give up your grief. After all, a person's happiness and distress are never permanent. Just as a puppet dances according to the will of the puppeteer, so in this world we act under the control of the Supreme Lord. Which Supreme Lord is Jarasandha talking about? He was just fighting Krishna. He fights Krishna 18 times. Which Supreme Lord is Jarasandha acting under the will of? But he speaks very wise words, even being a demon. So just see, even demons can have knowledge. Supreme absolute knowledge. What is the difference? And why is it then that Krishna says, I cannot be known by knowledge alone? Knowledge and reason? Shishupal and Jarasandha had very great brains. One person is saying no brain. Yes, he did have a brain. He had great intelligence. He had the most knowledge. He is saying that we are all acting under the will of the Supreme Person. So what is the difference? Krishna says, I cannot be known by knowledge. He tells Arjuna this on the battlefield. But I can be known by love. Love and devotion, that is the difference. We have that devotion. That makes us seem less like split personality syndrome. They can speak such wise words and then act inimically. We have to be careful not to let all of our knowledge pollute our hearts. We have to be careful to make sure that all of our learning does not turn us hard-hearted, so that we forget that love is the key. I fought with Krishna 18 times and came out victorious only once. Still I never lamented nor rejoiced, for I knew that this world is driven by fate. Now we have again been defeated because time has favored our enemies, but in the future, when time becomes auspicious, we shall conquer again. Being thus persuaded, Shishupal returned home, as did the other surviving kings and princes. Rukmi, however, was especially envious of Krishna and could not tolerate that the Lord had kidnapped his sister. Frustrated and angry, Rukmi encased himself in armor and in the midst of the assembled kings vowed, I shall never again enter Kundin if I do not kill Krishna in battle and bring Rukmini back with me. I swear this before all of you. After saying this, Rukmi assembled his army, mounted his chariot, and told the driver, go quickly to where Krishna is. This wicked-minded cowherd boy, being infatuated by his prowess, has abducted my sister, but today I shall cut down his false pride with my sharp arrows. So if any of us have been criticized by haters, we can look at this Even Krishna was criticized. He was called a cowherd boy in the most derogatory manner. So let's see what Krishna does with his haters. Boasting in this way, Rukmi approached Lord Govinda. Govinda. Being ignorant of his own power and challenged, "Stand and fight!" Rukmi then drew back his bowstring and struck Krishna with 3 arrows. And after doing so again shouted, "Stand here for a moment, O defiler of the Yadu dynasty! Wherever you go carrying off my sister like a crow stealing butter from the sacrificial arena, I will follow you. Release my sister before you are struck dead by my arrows and made to lie down upon the battlefield." In response, Krishna smiled and then with 6 arrows struck Rukmi and broke his bow. 6 arrows. The Lord then struck Rukmi's horses with 8 arrows, his driver with 2, and the chariot's flag with 3. Rukmi got down from his disabled chariot, grabbed another bow, and struck Krishna with 5 arrows, but the Lord quickly broke that bow as well. When he ran out of arrows, Rukmi picked up various weapons to fight with Krishna hand to hand: an iron bludgeon, 3-pointed spear, sword, pike, and javelin. And the Lord smashed all of them to bits. At last, in desperation, Rukmi furiously rushed at Krishna, sword in hand, hoping to kill him. With his arrows, however, Krishna broke Rukmi's sword and shield into very small pieces. Then, as Krishna took his sword to kill Rukmi, Rukmini became highly alarmed. Falling at her husband's lotus feet, she pleaded, "O Lord of Lords, Master of the universe, please do not kill my brother." Being highly mortified, Rukmini's body trembled. Her mouth became dry and her throat became choked up. In her agitation, her necklace fell down as she grasped Krishna's lotus feet in supplication. Feeling compassionate, Krishna desisted from killing Rukmi. Still, he wanted to give Rukmi some light punishment. After tying Rukmi with a strip of cloth, Krishna cut off parts of his mustache, beard, and hair with his sword, giving him, as it were, quite a comical haircut. After having crushed their opponents, the Yadu heroes, headed by Lord Balaram, arrived there. When Balaram saw Rukmi in such a sorry condition, practically dying of shame, he became compassionate towards his sister-in-law. To please Rukmini, only to please Rukmini, Balaram untied Rukmi and then spoke in such a way as to chastise Krishna just a little. So I think it's so sweet that Balaram knows. He knows full well who Krishna is. He knows that Rukmi even deserved it. But to give pleasure to his new sister-in-law, he decides to chastise his little brother, just a little bit. Just to show that we will not be cruel-hearted in-laws. We will take care of you. My dear brother, you have acted quite improperly. This deed will bring shame upon us. For to disfigure a close relative in this way is as good as killing him. Then addressing Rukmini, Balaram said, "O saintly lady, do not be displeased with us. No one but oneself is responsible for his joy or sorrow in this world, because a man experiences the results of his own deeds. And after all Kshatriyas are the emblem of materialistic life, and while competing for sense gratification, they may sometimes resort to even killing their own brother. My dear Rukmini, you are acting like an ignorant person because you wish good for someone that is inimical to all living beings and has tried to harm your true well-wishers. The Supreme Lord's Maya makes men forget their real selves. Accepting the material body as the self, they consider others to be friends, enemies, or neutral parties. It is only the material body, which is imposed upon us by ignorance, that causes us to undergo the experiences of birth and death. O intelligent lady, the soul is unaffected by birth and death, and thus we conceive of ourselves as being born or dying only due to ignorance. This is original Adi Guru, dropping all the knowledge. It is just like the phases of the moon, for they exist only due to our limited perception, and do not exist for the moon itself. Therefore, please dispel the grief that is weakening your mind by the strength of transcendental knowledge, and resume your natural, cheerful mood. Being enlightened by Lord Balaram, Rukmini gave up her depression. But not Rukmi. Cast out by his enemies, and deprived of his strength and bodily radiance, he could not forget how he had been disfigured. Because he had vowed never to return to Kundin without killing Krishna, in frustration, Rukmi went to a place called Katha, and after constructing a small cottage, he resided there for the rest of his life. One second. I've had an interruption on the other stream. But we continue with them. Okay, so because he had vowed never to return to Kundin without killing Krishna, in frustration, Rukmi went to a place called Katha, and after constructing a small cottage, he resided there for the rest of his life. Lord Krishna brought Rukmini to Dwarka, and they were married, giving rise to a great celebration. All the men and women dressed in their finest and brought presents that they offered to the bride and groom. The city was gorgeously decorated, and the streets were cleansed by the intoxicated elephants that belonged to the kings who were there as guests. The members of numerous royal families visited Dwarka at this time, including Dhritarashtra, the Pandavas, Drupad, and Bhishmaka. Bhishmak had been upset because of the kidnapping of his daughter, but Lord Balaram, along with some other great sages, were able to induce him to take part in the great wedding ceremony, since, after all, his original purpose was being served. He had originally wanted Rukmini to marry Krishna. In the Padma Purana, it mentions that Nanda Maharaj, along with the cowherd men and boys, also visited Dwarka at this time. There is no end to the great benefits and benedictions that are awarded to those who hear the glorious pastimes and read the beautiful, beautiful verses of Srimad Bhagavatam on this Bhadra Purnima. I want to thank you all for giving me the chance to give in charity this great Srimad Bhagavatam. I was not able to give it in charity physically. I was not able to give money, but I was able to somehow read it with all of you who have become faithful attendees and friends and well-wishers. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for coming through every time I read. Thank you for engaging. Thank you for laughing. Thank you for gazing upon these readings with eyes of affection. Thank you for sending your love and your support and your encouragement. Thank you for having fun with me. Thank you for reveling in the pastimes of our best friend. All glories to Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, who is spotless as the sun and purifies our hearts so that nothing impure can remain. All that remains is love for Govinda Dev. All glories to this wonderfully romantic full moon night. All glories to all of you for being our Vaishnav Sangha and friends. All glories to Sri Krishna Chandra, who is bright and effulgent, just like the moon. Thank you. I'll see you all again soon, where we'll have to read more heroic adventures from our best friend. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Dev Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Savior of the whole world, Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. See you soon. Hare Krishna.